Hello and welcome to Word for Wednesday. Way! First one for a while. And this time I want to look at 50 Shades of Shepherd's Pie, which I thought was a genius title. You see, it is nearly Valentine's Day. Love is in the air, or more, love is on the TV quite a bit, because they want to make some money from us. One of the adverts that stuck out to me, if you can hear me over my washing machine, has been that Coleman's shepherd pie advert. And so, whilst I talk, I'm going to make for you, well, not for you, it's actually for me and my wife, Helen, a shepherd's pie. Okay, so here we're going to start by turning on the oven. I want to talk about 50 Shades of Grey and sex and love in the 21st century. I find this stuff fascinating. I studied it a bit at uni, and we're just surrounded by it. No matter how old you are, no matter where you're from or what sex you are, we're constantly surrounded about messages and information about sex and love. But to really understand the 21st century, I think we need to rewind a little bit. In fact, a big bit, before shepherd's pie was even created. Probably, I have no idea when shepherd's pie was created. And I want you to come back with me now, 2,000 years. See, Jesus is all about love. And he's been teaching people about love, showing people how to love each other, and he's been loving other people, practically, putting other people's needs above his own. And when he does this, he starts to rock the boat. People aren't happy. And even today, when we love other people radically, when we radically put other people's needs before our own, we will start to shake society and culture because it's not what we're set up primarily to do. So these people try and catch Jesus out, and they ask him, Jesus, is it okay to get divorced for any or every reason? There's a dispute going on about it at the time, and so they knew that Jesus would upset at least one of his groups of followers with his answer. And Jesus' response is huge. He uses it to bring new light to biblical teaching about sex. He quotes the creation story from Genesis and reminds them of what God had intended of sexuality. It's important to remember that sex is not an accident, it's not a sin, but God has actually intentionally made it for us to enjoy. This comes up throughout Scripture, which is constantly affirming sex. Through media, in the world, even in the church sometimes, I think it'd be easy to pick up the message that sex is about you getting pleasure, or that it's the epitome of a loving relationship. But when I start to study the Bible, I really struggle with those concepts. Because sex is about intimacy, union, the other person's needs, and of course it's about making life as well. But when we prioritise our own personal pleasure, we've taken it out of that context, and that applies to us if we're married or not. It's out of the context that it was made to be in. And of course, sex cannot be the epitome of a loving relationship. Because when we look at Jesus, we see someone who had never had sex with anyone. And I've not read the Da Vinci Code, but I don't think he ever had sex with anyone. And yet love seemed to be the centre of his character and of all of his relationships. The reason why is because in Jesus we learn that the epitome of a loving relationship is in fact sacrifice. The Bible is full of information about how to have great sex, and Jesus has already alluded to it when you look back at the creation story. And you see that actually two people who are committed to a lifelong covenant of serving God, like sex, that's the context, and we could unpack that so much more if we had time. Obviously, I wouldn't advise that you read 50 Shades of Grey. I think any kind of pornography can be really damaging, and there's science that proves that it can be really damaging to you as an individual, to your relationships now and in the future. Jesus seems to really know what he's talking about when he says that sex is for two people. So we're called to be people of love, and there are so many ways that we can show this sacrificial love. Maybe it's a shepherd's pie, but maybe there are 50 different shades of shepherd's pie. And so, the moment of truth. Will my first ever shepherd's pie resemble anything like a shepherd's pie? Let's hope so. Oh wow. Oh. Wowzers trousers! Look at that! That's a shepherd's pie! I made it. And so, the challenge, I guess, this week is, can you find situations, at least one in the next 7 days, where you can show sacrificial love to someone else?